Zadovoljstvo mi je što sam danas na...
It is great pleasure to be today here on the second day of this very important international conference titled Genocide in Srebrenica. Even though this is rather unpleasant jubilee of genocide in Srebrenica, I have to say that this issue, which I will try to present in 15 to 17 minutes that I'm given, is closely related to the profession that the profession of mine, and this is a very important social and professional engagement in a Bosnian society. I'm a teacher to all Serbs, Croats and Bosniaks, and our university is very mixed to that end. So yesterday's conference, I have to say that was excellent, and I need to congratulate to organizer. And I really feel sorry that we didn't have enough law students, because I think that this would be very useful for them, not only for them, but also for the students of political science. But I'm pretty sure that maybe in the future conferences we will ensure larger presence of these students. By preparing this presentation, I wondered whether I will be able to tell things that are relevant now, 20 years after genocide. But after listening to a presentation of foreign panelists and researchers of genocide, pre-genocide, genocide and post-genocide, they in a way discovered for me a whole mountain of different elements that are an integral part of the genocide. What I want to say that yesterday's work or yesterday's conference was rather enriching for me, because everything that I heard yesterday helped me over the past 24 hours to define, what I want to say, because I'm no longer the same person that I was yesterday. I will refer to a micro research that I did together with my students on 2 occasions, and that small research, which I will present on 3 to 4 slides, I will try to say that we in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we are at the 4th stage, which is an integral part of the classical steps of genocidal actions, denial being one part of that. So what I'm trying to say that it's very difficult to recognize that first stage, which is actually preparation for genocide. But also the current stage that we're in is also very difficult to recognize. So that's why we often have trouble identifying what's going on around us. I think that our academia didn't find its way in this as well, because now we see that for us this is almost prescribed words. Foreigners tend to use this word much more easily, So our student last year wanted to do the thesis about genocide in Gorazde, but his thesis was denied because he was explained that the court hasn't acknowledged that there was genocide in Gorazde, therefore you cannot write a thesis about that. So of course, we have a lot of denials. We have seen actually that since 2009 we have entered this intensive stage of denial of genocide, and this is something that we all theoreticians have a consensus on. So we live in that context, so we see that in all different forms. So obviously this is something that is present in media and in everyday discourse. So denial of genocide is a part of the same process which was launched already in 80s or 90s of the last century. So why do we deny genocide? So the title of this slide is very hideous and dangerous, because I have to say that I'm very happy to have met Mr. Dimitrijevic yesterday and today, because I have recognized two very important signals. On 26th of February, on the day when a verdict was read out loud about a formal responsibility for not preventing genocide in Bosnia, because back then I remember that there were two honorable persons who spoke out, Vojin Dimitrijević and Professor Vladimir Todorović. What Todorović had said back then, I think it's still valid today, and I will be very happy to share it with you. He had said that International Court at The Hague wasn't led by the logic that there shall be justice no matter what. So for them, it seemed to be that the good neighborly relations were more important than justice. So Vojin Dimitrijević, of course, you can look at this publication. So denial of this horrible event is as denial of a Holocaust. So what did I do on that day? I was very emotionally touched, you know, because it was very difficult, rainy day. If you remember, it rained, it was pouring. I met my 40 students who were at the senior year of journalism. And back in 2007, I asked my students once they entered the amphitheater, because these were mainly children, students coming from the poor areas. This is a state faculty, so there is no tuition. Many of the students actually come from this area of the Drina Valley. I asked them actually to write an essay about their impressions that were triggered by, you know, this judgment. Here, I scanned these material and I keep them as evidence. I've been hiding them for the past 9 years. The content of these essays were horrible, you know. So there were two students signed their essays, even though I didn't ask them to do that. I told them that, as I said, that we work in a multi-ethnic environment. So I scanned their scripts and I have them preserved in physical form in order to preserve their authenticity. You see that only Coca-Cola actually distributed free of charge notebooks, and that's why they use these papers, you know, for their essays, where they have written their impressions about the judgment. I will just quote maybe, you know, about a dozen of lines, you know, from these essays, even though there were over hundreds of those. I did that, you know, now in 2015, because I wanted to show to you how this horrible event of genocide actually is bursting out. So I will just highlight some of the lines. I haven't listened or watched the reading of the verdict. It hurts me because I've been through the worst things. I've been through genocide. And the worst of all is that I have anticipated this judgment. This is not a judgment. This is a political decision. It's good. Is it good to remember and to pay back or to revenge? But today I found out that there is no justice. There is no moral justice for those who have been injured. So obviously the rich one turned their blind eyes. They're buying their luxurious stuff. So irrespective of what happened to us, it will be very difficult to reach justice. This is shameless. We have been waiting for so many years to hear the verdict which will prove that Serbia and Montenegro, I don't know, no one actually mentioned that, you know, during these days, but obviously Montenegro was involved actually, and all serious historians know that. So the verdict had said that neither Serbia nor Montenegro are responsible for genocide, you know. So of course this was horrible. This is so sad. We could hear actually the cries from the people who were present in that courtroom, similar to those that could be heard at Srebrenica in '95. This is very sad situation in the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, do whatever you want, because all of that will be justified. Yesterday at 11 o'clock, it was said that it is not that the number of killed ones was not sufficient enough to declare genocide. Yes, we were the ones who were killed. Let's forget about the past. our history will be illusion in a couple of years' time. Obviously, no one's to be blamed for that. It's so sad and disappointing that the leaders of our neighboring republics are laughing at our feints, and they behave as if they are holding the victory throne. So how come that actually, how can we expect any better future? So this is the last slap into the face of the Europe and all of us. We need to be aware that the world will never be on our side, no matter how damaged we were. My father was at a death camp for 2 years, and thank God he survived. Half of my family has been killed, and I feel horrible. This is something that we need to fight by culture of memory. This is not a judgment, this is a political deal. So I was surprised with that, because this is something that was generated much before then some historical facts were actually written down. So now I will try to make a bypass between the two research theses. So again, this time I did a sample with 40 students of master studies, and again I asked them actually to write down their impressions, because now it's 20 years of the genocide in Srebrenica. Only half of them agreed to do the essay. The remaining half said that they didn't want to take part in that. So this denial, or this refusal to take part in that, because in the earlier years I taught them actually that it's important that they share their views, that to tell out and articulate how they feel, because this is very important for the process of healing, you know, and this really... But still, their refusal to do that told me, or have shown me, that they are very much tired of this topic, you know, that there is a certain fatigue. So here we see a dominant position that peace is our great hope, while on the other hand, there is a message that the culture of memory is not what the Bosniaks and all other people in Bosnia and Herzegovina intensively worked on or sufficiently work on. So our tears, dear guests, can be wiped only by, we can be the one actually to wipe the tears out of our eyes. No one will be there for us, you know, so maybe they can hand us handkerchief, but we need to deal with our problems internally. So just look at some of the students' answers. So now we're talking about children who have been born after the war. So given the media coverage about Srebrenica event, the world could but did nothing. So the destiny of people from Eastern Bosnia has not been completed back then, because the war was actually completed only for those who died. The suffering of the family is still continuing. I sincerely hope that the generations to come will learn from what happened in Srebrenica, and that in due time they will recognize the preparation of genocide or war, and at least reduce the numbers of the future atrocities. Obviously, it bothers me that the 11th of July has lost its meaning. So what is great truth that has been actually demonstrated in the last two statements, and which all theories of genocide and dramatic marginalized situation in our life is lacking, is this catharsis that need to happen within this territory. And a precondition for this healing is a sustainable peace and reconciliation, but all that corroborated with facts, without any retribution or retributional crime or any vengeance, which is often proposed by the politicians. If people is not ready for collective moral responsibility, and I support colleague Dimitrijevic because he spoke about this a lot, then of course that there is a collective denial of genocide. I'm sorry that Ms. Bečirević is not here, because she really well documented the crimes and genocide in eastern Bosnia and in the Drina River Valley. So obviously the politic of denial is rather successful in this territory. Today, the catharsis, and I keep repeating this, you know, with a lot of emotions, because if we go through the healing process now, only then we can expect that there will be reconciliation tomorrow. So this is something that we could have learned from the antique tragedies as well. So as in my conclusion, what I could say when it comes to internal healing, when it comes to genocide over Bosniak people in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Srebrenica, is, we all in academia have a consensus that there was a genocide, but on the legal side, Bosnia didn't have this satisfaction because there is no law against denial of genocide. 11th of July is not a national day of mourning, which would be a way of satisfaction. So there is a continuation of the lawsuit of Bosnia against Serbia. So we still have 2 years. So to this end, I would like to appeal to all, in particular to Ms. Nevenka, who is actually a great expert, given all the experiences from the Milosevic case. So I think that this lawsuit needs to be repeated. We need to present some new arguments in order to present certain facts. On the other hand, what I think is a very important, at least in my narrative, is this building itself, and the Islamic community of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which in different ways became involved in the spiritual dimension of memorialization of all these events. And of course, we need to do tawhid, and the believers know what this means, because that is a process of healing which never calls for retribution. Praying for all the dead, so that is actually also a process. Last year, about 8,000 believers actually participated in this collective prayer. So that is also a form of remembering all the victims. So this could be actually promoted more intensively by the Islamic community as well. So, of course, this is a task for all of us, in particular the younger ones. We need to write books about that. We need to erect a museum, a house. We need to prepare exhibition similar to the one that is now displayed in the lobby of this building. So we need to archive all the material which is over the time destroyed at the ICTY. So, of course, I have mentioned, I have 3 children. I know what has been taught in schools, from primary to the university. So for the foreigners, I need to tell you that it is forbidden to teach history from 1991 onwards. So that's not part of the curriculum. In Republika Srpska, children, Bosniak children, they cannot learn anything other than what has been stipulated under the curriculum of Republika Srpska, which is the same curriculum of Republic of Serbia. So I try to be as specific as possible, and I try to do this in order to highlight how much I was hurt by the panelists who yesterday raised certain questions of all genocide, not only the one that happened in the past, but also the genocides that are taking place as we speak here. So 10 years ago, I read the manuscript of Timothy Garton, a great politologist from the UK, and he had said, what is a genocide? What's the fuss about? So that's what the European peoples did to one another. You do genocide, you show that you can do it, you clean your hands, and then enter the community of powerful people. Of course, this cynicism always hurts, but on one hand, I feel unpleasant that I was like emotional, but on the other hand, I'm very proud because I see that there is a lot of research agility present among the researchers, because of course they need to be part of these very demanding processes. And thank you very much for being part of it.